This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
This is Financial Insanity, the show we're going to take the chaos of the market and turn into a clear path for your financial future. As always, I'm your host, Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean from McLean Advisory Group right here in Waretown. And Scott today is going to help us figure out if our portfolios are as safe as we think that they are. Are we just riding a risk roller coaster? We're talking about that today. And if you have questions about anything we discussed today, that number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. But Scott's looking at your portfolio, is it really safe? Important topic.
It is an important topic, Alex, and most people are totally unaware. The biggest mistake I find with seniors is they really don't understand, and or other advisors that are in the growth mode, they don't understand the risks that come, the difference between growth and income. And so I really wanted to hone in on this because people like to have that steady income. They like to have that ability and capability of knowing the check's going to show up on the first of every month when they go to the mailbox or they go to their bank account. It's showing up there. So I appreciate us talking about risk in 5 different areas I hope we're able to cover today, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And Scott, when people think of their portfolio, do you think people are generally feeling like it's a safe bet or more like a Vegas gamble? What's your take on it?
Yeah, you know what? They do think it's a Vegas gamble, and that's a really great question. The market really can sometimes feel like a casino, but the difference is with the right strategy, you don't have to leave it all to chance. One key factor to look at is called beta, which is essentially the risk or the heartbeat of your portfolio. If it's too high, you might be in for a bumpy ride. So obviously you are expecting the unexpected, but you want to be optimistic. But are you going to be consistent? That's the key.
And Scott, for folks, maybe they're investing for growth, others looking for consistent income. And what's really the difference? And how does somebody decide what's the better route for them?
You know, we spoke about this before. If our listening audience might remember, I like using analogies. I call it the chicken and the egg that comes to mind. Think of it as the chicken as your stock, your bond, your preferred, your BDC, your MLP, your portfolio. And so, of course, think of the chicken, that's vehicle, and the egg is the dividend. And an income portfolio that's designed to make eggs. And the eggs could be by way of dividends or interest. Now, provide a consistent source of income. Yes, that's what we're looking for in that type of investment, the income portfolio. You can collect those eggs and enjoy them, or you could reinvest them by buying more chickens, which means more eggs down the line. So you don't need it now, but maybe you want it down the line. This is a great way to design and tailor-make a portfolio. And, of course, the educated audience out there that's listening right now, that's called reinvestment of dividends. You've heard this all your life, but the question I want to make sure is sometimes the people don't understand that. And I want to keep it as simple as possible because, again, I want to have a lot of dividends coming in that can be reinvested. And this, depending what kind of market we're in, that's what's so important, Alex.
So it sounds like what you're saying, Scott, more chickens, more eggs coming with those chickens. That sounds like a solid plan.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. That's right. And cholesterol free. How about that?
There you go.
Now here's the difference, Alex. Most all people forget. In a growth portfolio, it's a way different story. You're not collecting eggs. You see, you're banking on the chicken getting bigger and bigger over time. This would equate to the growth stocks, small caps, mid caps, which are not designed for dividends, but if they do pay a dividend, the company's not going to pay it out. They're going to reinvest it in their company again to make their company grow. And that's what happens in a growth type stock portfolio when you have these tech stocks. And of course, if you need the income in this type of portfolio, you've got to start selling the chickens, the shares of stock in the portfolio, which will rapidly deplete itself if the market's dropping. Therefore, if the market's down, you've got to sell a lot more chickens, shares of stock, just to get the same income. We talk about that in my book, The Three Blind Mice, because we have an income portfolio that can last the rest of your life. Do you have that? I'm not sure. Now, everybody that is young, like yourself, Alex, and those listeners, maybe the children, they call it dollar cost averaging, where you put the same amount of money in and it grows, and it works. The challenge is when you get older, it's called reverse dollar cost averaging. Not many people are talking about that. And when you look at the portfolio, the beta, the risk factor, in a rising market, everybody's happy, Alex. I know you're happy. You see your portfolio going up, everybody's happy and having a celebration. But in a downturn, you could end up with fewer chickens and no eggs, and therefore the portfolio evaporates quickly and possibly no chance of coming back because what? You sold off so many shares, and that's not a position anybody wants to be in. So I want to caution people, those that are 73, taking required minimum distributions may just be in that position, and you're totally unaware of it. You could be in a growth portfolio selling off shares of stock, Alex.
That number, if you are maybe concerned or have questions about how some of this volatility from the past month or so might be affecting your portfolio, that number, 609-488-4646 for Scott McLean, the team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. And what should people be thinking about, Scott, when they hear about this market volatility, the ups and downs? And I mean, how worried should people be about these potential losses?
Well, I would hope they have for those do-it-yourselfers, a good tolerance for risk. But sometimes when you're feeling more nervous than excited, it might be a sign your portfolio is beta, risk factor is too high. The volatility can be thrilling for some people if you're at a theme park.
Yep.
But when it's your retirement, Alex, savings, well, if that's on the line, maybe you're not so excited. So again, it's the person's internal core. Can you handle it or not handle it? But then on top of that, I've got some people calling in and say, Scott, I'd like to buy some these fancy tech stocks, NVIDIA or maybe Carvana went from $4 to $150. These stocks it could be taking off, but these could be wonderful when you're making money. But could they go back down where they started from? Yes. So again, you might want to think about lowering the risk factor. We spoke about it before, jumping off the diving board, a high dive versus the ground level, belly flops hurt. So lowering the beta can really bring some peace of mind to many of you out there listening right now. That's right, you may be worried about whether it's what time of year it is. It could be election period. It could be interest rates changes, and you're really maybe losing sleep. Well, how do we not lose sleep? Well, that's where people give our studios a call. And they ask, Scott, can we get together? How can I get some assurances? 609-488-4646 is there for you. By the way, that's our website.com. Again, why is it there for you? Because then you'll speak to myself or George. Our whole team is designed to really, how do we help you design a portfolio that you can relate to, that you can sleep with? A lot of people want 10-15% rate of returns, especially back in the 80s. But I can promise you this, especially 1990s to 2000, the market was screaming and no one talked about income. They talked about growth. Well, you want peace of mind when the market dropped from 2000 to 2003, when the market dropped almost 50%? or from 2007 to 2009, where it dropped almost 63%. If you want peace of mind, figure out what risk level you can have. Find out what your portfolio, the beta rating is. That's why people give our studios a call, or they come in to visit with us on a one-to-one basis. And I'd love to talk to you off the air, 609-488-4646. Don't put your head on the pillow when it's so in your face, and you could take action, Alex. That's what people should do. I really believe that.
Yeah, and you've mentioned it a few times for folks, and I want to make sure we're not going too high level, but the idea of beta, I know it's something that you feel like maybe isn't discussed enough. You know, maybe somebody's out there, maybe they have an advisor or somebody who's assisting them, and they haven't heard about this or discussed it. If you could spend just a little bit of time there on the idea of beta and why that's so important.
You know, understanding beta, I won't go in the woods. Let's talk about riding a bicycle. You know, you got these big bicycles that have big fat wheels. And man, you could imagine yourself riding down the road. It's smooth. And if the road is flat and easy to ride and steady, that is wonderful. But if the road starts to get bumpy with lots of hills and dips, your ride gets a lot tougher. Right, Alex?
Yeah, of course.
And you've got to work much harder to stay balanced. You may have to stand up in your pedals so you don't get the bumps in your butt, but it's not as comfortable. Now think about the road as a stock market. The flat road means the market is stable, not going up and down. It's kind of boring and steady Eddie. People love that. But bumpy road means the market goes up and down. It's a lot more volatile. So beta is like a measure of how the bumpy road is in your investments. If the portfolio has a high beta, that means your ride is going to be bumpy, could be very bumpy. Now that could be good for some people, but not everybody. It will go up and down with the market. If it has low beta, your ride is smoother with fewer big ups and downs. So again, if you don't like the bumps, you want a smoother ride, you really want to look at your portfolio to lower the beta. But if you're okay, some of the bumps you might think's okay could really change your destination faster to the good or the bad. So again, let's understand that. And again, the key is knowing how much bumpiness you can handle before you want to get off that bike and say, I'm not getting on again.
Right. 609-488-4646, the number for Scott and his amazing team at McLean Advisory Group right here in Waretown, New Jersey, serving Ocean County and beyond. Again, that number 609-488-4646. This is Financial Insanity. Thanks for joining us.
Do you want your retirement to be affected by who's in the White House? We didn't think so. But here's the thing. No matter who wins this time, they'll only be in the office for 4 more years. But how long will your retirement last? Presidents can have a huge impact on taxes and the economy, but there's another presidential election in 4 years, then another, and so on. Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group can help you create a customized plan that's as White House proof as possible. Schedule your visit with Scott McLean today by calling 609-488-4646. Scott doesn't know who will win in November, but he can help you prepare for it, no matter what happens. Reach out to Scott McLean to get started. Call 609-488-4646. Don't let who's in the White House affect your retirement. Give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC.
Get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Every year, more than 500,000 Americans file for bankruptcy due to medical bills. Healthcare emergency, catastrophic illness, accident can knock you off your feet physically and financially. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean. The number, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. 46. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And this is a reality, Scott, and something that we got to plan for, that stuff's going to happen. We're going to have medical expenses.
Medical expenses are real. Going through what I went through, just a knee surgery, put me a new knee in there, and now I got to work out. But it takes time, effort, and energy. They said I wouldn't be back to work for, 2 or 3 weeks, and some people take longer. Well, I was back in a week. I think you and I spoke the week after, but I didn't have the energy I had. I was planning for the best because I told the staff before the drugs wore off, I'll be in next couple days, guys. No big deal. This is the second day out of the surgery, and went right home the next day or the same day. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I felt great until the major drug wore off. And then I planned for the best. Didn't really plan for the worst. I thought I could jump in the office real quick. But my brain was in the office because I love what I do. I love speaking to you, Alex. I love speaking to people on the air and helping people. I thought I'd have my energy back, and it just wasn't back. How did I plan for it? I didn't plan for it. But how do you plan for it when it comes to your money? That's a hard thing. We don't plan to become sick and then our lights go dim. We don't plan for a car accident, although we do buy car insurance. We don't plan for inflation. We just have to now mitigate or drive ourselves through inflation by reducing our spending, reallocating our investments, maybe not spending money going out to eat as much so we can work our way through it. We've seen inflation. For those of you who've been around as long as I have, and I'm an old dog, 65, and I can tell you, I feel like my brain says I'm 19, 20. My body says I'm a little bit older, at least for now. How do you plan for the worst? Well, when it comes to finances, that's what's called the asset allocation. It's a big fancy word by saying we don't want to have everything in the bond account. We don't want to have everything into the short-term accounts, into the banks. We don't want to have everything into maybe mid-cap, small-cap, large caps. Maybe we need to diversify around and find different alternatives. So there's in the universe of investments, Alex, like medical costs. Well, there's one thing in medical costs. Of course, they're always going to be expensive, and they keep going up. You have the right insurance. You can plan for that, the best of your ability. You can do those planning. And then as things go on, you ask other people, you pull your brain with some other financial advisors who have been through that tough road or who are going through it or understand it. This is really helpful information. And we talked about medical bills. And one of the biggest medical bills I speak to people when they get a certain age is, should I put my house into a irrevocable trust? So in the event I have to go to a nursing home, I've heard this, Scott, how can I preserve my assets? Where do I put my assets? So I want to make sure that my biggest assets, whether it's a huge bank account, savings account, investment account, maybe my house or my second house, should I put that into a special trust to really protect that or shield that or almost insulate that from the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral? And when I think about that, many people forget that because they don't want to think about going to the nursing home. They want to think about, going to a place they're going to be away from their home. It's hard to think about. That is what you can plan now for. And then, of course, you have special trusts. We have special attorneys here, and I think we've done a show a time or two. And I think we'll do one coming up soon, where we talk about these special trusts that could really benefit some of you out there that are thinking about it. Or maybe plan for the best and then plan for the worst. I should say hope for the best. Maybe you have a son or daughter out there that are going to be preventing, getting money if you pass away. Plan for the best. How do you give it to them? Do you give it all to them? This is part of your estate planning. How do you diversify the portfolio so that they can get a inheritance? Or maybe they are going through a divorce, and how do we protect the money from your child's spouse? These are questions, Alex, I get all the time.
Yep.
I call it a come to Jesus meeting, a really down-to-earth, real session. This is not textbook financial planning 101. This is asking questions 102.
Right.
Let's really understand what's going on. So again, when you're planning for medical care, let's hope for the best. Yes, we should diversify our portfolio to make money. Plan for the worst. Okay, right now, cash is a great, right to certain times, cash is a great investment because interest rates are high. But interest rates are low, diversify. But how do we protect our money? Or maybe we're going through a bump in the road, or possible bankruptcy. You mentioned that's a possibility. How do we protect our assets? This is the art of financial planning. But Alex, by the way, I did write a book called The Financial Planning Process, how the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. If anybody's out there who would like to get a copy of that, please call. We'll put you on the air. We'll talk to you about it, give you, or those who want a quick segment of the estate planning, we'd love to get that in your hands. Just give Bonnie a call at 609-488-4646. I'll do it. No cost, no obligation. We can send you the e-chapters, like the PDF chapters. You can send it there. And for those of you who want to visit with me one-on-one, I'd love to get you a book in your hands so you really understand all the different areas. I mean, 40 plus years in this industry. And when I try to culminize or put it together, planning, you're thinking for the best. I want the best to happen. We all want the best until you get hit by a car or you go through a divorce. Or your sweetie pie just died and you don't know how to handle the money because he or she did the money, but you didn't. This is the worst. You need to get a backup quarterback in your life. I'd love to speak to you. If you want to give me a call, by the way, if you're needing guidance or want to question me off the air, please do so. Don't put this back in your brain and put this off. I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646. You will not get a sales pitch. You will not get a bill. You will not get come and see me and we'll see how we can help you. You're not going to get that. I've been here for so long in Ocean County since 1979 when I moved up from down south, coming off the road, cutting some albums. I can tell you a fact that if you come visit with us, let's just have a conversation. If the conversation leads to a great area, maybe you go back to your financial guy or gal, your lawyer, but you need to get things done. You've put it on the shelf too long. Maybe I'm speaking to you right now. If you've put this on the shelf for too long and have not brought these planning for the worst, expecting the best, but planning for the worst, let's have that conversation because this conversation is a true, real conversation. Why? To protect all your hard-earned time, effort, and energy, which equals assets, protect that from the crows and the clowns that usually show up with their hands out. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Alex. I'd love to speak to you off the air. Alex, I don't know how they can get a hold of me. You want to give them a shout out, but I think this is really important, especially now when our economy is doing some crazy stuff. Plan for the best and for the worst for both.
Yep. 609-488-4646. The number 609-488-4646 at8.com for the website. And talking about healthcare costs, it's a great thing we have Medicare. It turns on after we turn 65, but it's obviously it doesn't cover everything. And I know you know some about it. You have folks that ask about it. What is not covered generally, and what are some options for folks dealing with these medical costs that are not covered by Medicare?
Well, I can tell you in the Medicare, I'm actually in that area with many of you people out there. But it really, when you think about the Medicare costs, I know you want to look pretty and get that face, a tummy tuck or the facelift, or I need a facelift when I was born. But anyway, I was just thinking, it doesn't cover that cosmetic surgery. If you were hurt in a car accident and need cosmetic surgery due to the car accident, it would cover it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't cover it because you want to get pretty like me or ugly like me and get prettier anyway.
And we don't recommend people get in car accidents on purpose.
No. That's absolutely don't do that.
Shouldn't do that.
Maybe nursing home. You think it's going to cover nursing home, but that does not cover it. That's a different type of program. Maybe you're about to fly and take a trip overseas. You might want to get travel insurance. I've spoken to so many people, and one of our clients actually almost died overseas. They had to get flown in. Luckily, they had a large enough estate that they were able to get flown in, but they had a hard time getting flown in because they didn't want the doctors to handle them. It doesn't cover that, so you think about your travel. By the way, if you're traveling, I'll throw this out there for poops and giggles. If you're going to go travel, bring your power of attorney, a copy of the power of attorney, and stick that in your briefcase good tip for you. If you're going on a trip out of state or a vacation out of the country, bring your power of attorney, because you never know on this. The doctors might say, well, who's the power of attorney? And it'd become a real stickler, because now times thing are stickler. Or make sure that your kids have a copy of the power of attorney via PDF. They could send to you, but I would encourage you to do that. But again, it doesn't cover, let's go back to the subject at hand, the Medicare. It's not going to cover your fancy dental work. And so that's expensive. Hearing aids, if you're a veteran during wartime period, or maybe you served and you had certain in the gunnery range, or maybe in a tank, it may cover by the VA. So check out the Veterans Benefit. I've got a great contact for you to call somebody if you need that help for our dear veterans that served, and as well as long-term care. Feel free to call me. I built a company called Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008. And then, of course, your eyes and your eye exam. So hearing aids, there's a lot of things it doesn't cover. You kind of think it does cover. So if you're like me, as you're in the Medicare period of time, these are things you should be aware of. And when you shop it out, which you can shop it out, there's all different prices. You can shop it out every single year. But again, there are things it doesn't cover that you maybe think it does cover.
Yep. Beware.
You want to plan for the best. So I think that's critical.
And Scott, people that have questions, they could give you a holler, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. And we're talking today about planning for the worst, hoping for the best. And we're going to talk about long-term care. Nearly 70% of retirees are going to need this at some point. Don't go anywhere. More coming up.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This, to me, is very important.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Nearly 70% of retirees going to need some type of long-term care. This is according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So not a sure thing, but chances are you or your spouse are going to need long-term or nursing care of some sort at some time. And while the costs vary by location, the median cost of a private room in a nursing home over $100,000. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. I'm Alex Dingman, along with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And Scott, no surprise to you, that number there may be a surprise to some. Long-term care not covered by Medicare, Scott.
It's not. I'll never forget my daddy. I don't know if I mentioned this before in one of our shows, Alex, when Daddy and I were in the car, we're buying a property up in Newark, New Jersey, actually East Orange. And we're driving. Because, son, when I get older, we were going pretty fast on the Garden State Parkway at the time. This was back in the 90s. And, of course, Daddy was young. Well, back then because he was young, but I'm thinking now I'm old.
Yeah.
He said, Dad, what's on your heart? He goes, son, I just want to let you know that if I get dementia, Alzheimer's, I want you to do me a favor. If I get, disabled,
sure,
do me a favor, go down this Garden State Parkway and push me out. What, Dad? What are you kidding?
Yeah.
He's like, come
Whoa.
on, Dad.
Yeah.
Now we always joked around like that because we were just a down to earth family. And I said, Dad, are you serious? He goes, son, I don't want to go to a nursing home. But now there's nothing wrong with nursing homes.
Yeah.
But if you're in a nursing home or maybe have a loved one there, you do want to inspect what you expect, by the way. But I'll just remember nursing homes have a way, as you mentioned, Alex, at the beginning of the show, to evaporate that hard-earned income, that hard-earned retirement, that hard-earned beautiful house or estate that you've built. It has a way of really putting a lien on it, and you would never know. So when we talk about healthcare costs, yes, long-term care, and by the way, there's several types, but long-term care provisions or policies or types of contract could be very, very, very valuable. As we spoke, I guess earlier in the segment, we spoke one time about Medicare and what does it cover, what doesn't it cover, the gaps in between it, the drugs, does it cover drugs? But long-term care, this is long-term care. And some states are more effective than other states. So again, this is a good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some products, like give you an idea out there. I'm not selling you. Listen to me. Listen, you guys, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to tell you what's out there, so you're aware. See, unaware is lack of knowledge. But if you have knowledge, now you know how to take action. But there's a few products that have been out. When I was younger, I remember I was out in Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up. And I remember some guys coming door to door selling cancer policies. And I remember, what the heck is this cancer policy crap, Dad? He goes, son, well, I understand cancer is getting bigger. This is the 60s and 70s. I'll never forget it. And I remember Daddy was saying, son, we don't need that. It's just cancer policy. It's cheap. It's like something like $50 a year, and they cover all sorts of cancer. Let's snap forward from 1960, and here it's the year 2000. 40 plus years forward, my dad died of cancer and my mom did die of cancer. Should they spend the policy? I don't know. But as of those times, policies have gotten better. They've become more aware that people don't want to throw their money away.
Right.
So there's some kind of contracts called long-term care coverage that'll cover the cost. And this could be in the form of life insurance. So if you don't need it, then what happens is you get a lump sum tax-free distribution. So you get all the money back that you paid in. There's other types of contracts that if you put a lump sum down and you don't use it, you get it all back plus interest. There's other policies. If you like the old policy of day, I think Travelers was the number one back then, or Genworth was another company, and John Hancock. A lot of companies out there had the long-term care contracts. And so you pay. If you don't use it, you lose it. That's what the normal contracts were of years ago, but they've gotten much better. This might be a good tool. But let me give you another tool out there, guys, in addition to the long-term care that Alex is really waking some people up to. And Alex is a very good topic. I'm glad you brought it up because people think they got it covered, but it can evaporate your money drastically.
Oh, yeah.
And you think, I can take care of my husband. I can take care of my wife if they get it. I can take care of them. Yeah, your heart is big. Your muscles may be big, but they do get worn out. Your energy gets worn out, and now you need some help. It is a caregiver that you're going to need. And I'm going to tell you that 9 times out of 10, you're going to need a caregiver or someone to come in and help you, whether you're your children or maybe someone else, but you're going to need that and I know we came that with my mom and dad. When Daddy died in 5 days with cancer, leukemia. My mom had cancer. It went from her lung to her kidneys, and 3 months later, she went home to be with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But the neatest thing about it, if there was anything neat about it, they died short term.
Of course.
The worst part is watching your mom and dad, like my ex-father-in-law, in a nursing home bed in the VA hospital for 3.5 years of brain cancer. Let me tell you something, guys. This is something that needs to be planned for, and this is something you can do. Whether you speak to your financial advisor or not, or an insurance guy or gal, this needs to be a discussion. Why? Because it's not only a product or a vehicle to use, but maybe it is an estate planning tool. Should I buy or open up a trust? Should I start hiding, or I should say redirecting, better than hiding? Should I redirect my assets into a special trust, which people do with us all the time, Alex, into this trust? So in the event my lights go dim or this money is starting to go out, they will not have to have liens against their property or use the assets. This is planning in the best portion of the area that you can do now. And I think, Alex, people are putting this aside. They're not paying attention. And the reason why? Who the heck wants to talk about your lights going dim?
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about that.
Of course, nobody wants to talk about it, but like we said before, nearly 70% of folks are going to need some sort of long-term care at some point. Yeah. And if you have questions, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Usually the time is, well, as early as possible, but when is the ideal time to start preparing for those long-term care needs? Because, I mean, like anything, I'm sure price goes up longer you wait, but what makes the most sense, Scott?
I'm going to reverse that question. When is the best time to start saving? The first day you get a job. When's the best time to plan for long-term care? When you're about to start to retire, or put that in your plan. See, it's not, you may not even need it, but the new programs and the new facilities they have out there, the new products they have out there, Alex, there are some tools that could really help insulate and protect your assets. I don't recommend a special trust for a lot of people right off the bat, but I'm going to give them heads up. So every year, if your financial advisor, your salesman, your agent, whatever you want to call them, if they don't bring up this area of the healthcare issues, where they're leaving a piece of you off the table, they're not bringing it up. And I'm not being ugly, I'm not being curt. I'm sure they love you to death. But this is not talking about the last trip you had. This is not talking about your kid's wedding or their great grandbaby that just popped out. No, those are great topics. But if we got down into the muck and grabbed our shovel and start to dig down, we're going to find some muck in this discussion to figure out how can we fill this up with protection clauses, rules, whether it's a trust, an irrevocable remainder trust. Maybe you need to start gifting to the children, in addition to protecting the assets, reallocating the investments so it's in a safer mode. So if you need it, it's there. And then, of course, so for some of you who are financially well off, it should be a gifting policy. But by the way, Alex, real quick, that's one of the strategies. I spoke to a person that came in just recently. They have a very nice estate, and I mentioned them on the phone. It came from a radio show, Alex. Our radio show is how much can you gift right now in 2023. How much can you gift right now, and what's the gift tax exclusion? And that's $17,000. If you're listening to this show right now, it's 2023. In 2023, it's $17,000. But wait, what's that? But wait, there's more. See, if you're married, it's $34,000. But wait, there's more. You see, in this family, they had a very large estate. And I mentioned to them as we had our phone call when they called in from one of our radio shows, Alex, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but he called in and he asked me, he said, so Scott, what should I do and how should I handle it? I said, basically, on everything you just told me on our call, but I'd like to meet you again in person to make sure I got all the details and see the numbers you have. And he did come in just recently. Right on the phone, I said, did you know you could give each one of your kids right now? In his case, it was wonderful. And each one of you out there, don't use his situation for yours, but just gravitate this to your situation, meaning he wanted to give each kid $500,000. Now, his estate was very, very healthy. And he said, Scott, I can do that right now. I said, yes, but it's going to require a lot of work. Really? What do I have to do? It's one piece of paper. Are you kidding me, Scott? We was joking back and forth. He's an 84-year-old young man. I said, yeah, it's just one piece of paper. And it's this piece of paper will come from your tax preparer. He said, well, does it cost a lot of money? No, it's actually probably maybe $25 and you fill out the forms. He said $25 and I can give each kid $500,000. They don't pay any tax on the money I give them. And I could do that right now. I said, yes, absolutely. He said, well, I want to do that. What is that piece of paper? Okay, that's called the gift tax exclusion form. You've got to fill that out. You give that out to the event. You can give actually a tremendous amount of money on the exemptions in 2023, and every year it's been going up. So I encourage, if you're thinking about giving and you're using the number 10,000, that's old school. Today it's 2023, it's 17,000, and it goes up every year. But actually, there's an exclusion up to $20 million if you're married and over. So this is a great way, again, when you're looking at the publication 559, if you pull that up on the gift taxes, you can read that if you like reading that boring stuff. But for those of you, to him, it's not boring because it affects him.
Yeah.
So again, Alex, when we're talking about the long-term care, we're talking about taxes, we're talking about gifting. This is where a financial advisor really needs to get down and dirty and look at all the areas. And I'm sure your guy, if you're listening to me, I'm sure your guy or gal does that. And if they don't, maybe they're just a one-trick pony and sell certain individual products. This could be not good for your financial health.
Yep.
You got to look at everything, Alex.
Absolutely. And if you have questions, Scott has answers. 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. This is Financial Insanity. Thanks for joining us.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Do you want your retirement to be affected by who's in the White House? We didn't think so. But here's the thing. No matter who wins this time, they'll only be in the office for 4 more years. But how long will your retirement last? Presidents can have a huge impact on taxes and the economy, but there's another presidential election in 4 years, then another, and so on. Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group can help you create a customized plan that's as White House proof as possible. Schedule your visit with Scott McLean today by calling 609-488-4646. Scott doesn't know who will win in November, but he can help you prepare for it, no matter what happens. Reach out to Scott McLean to get started. Call 609-488-4646. Don't let who's in the White House affect your retirement. Give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
Lots to think about when you're heading into retirement. One of those things is whether or not you should continue working. This is the retirement yay or nay segment. So a survey by Express Employment Professionals staffing agency indicating 79% of workers between 57 and 75, 79%, nearly 8 out of 10, say they would rather be semi-retired rather than fully retired. Scott, does that make sense? And what are some possible pros and cons to this kind of approach?
What a crazy statement. I remember I laughing because I'm thinking about mom and dad. And I remember when daddy retired and he calls me up. I'm in New Jersey. He's in Florida in Jacksonville. And he says, son, I got to get a job. I said, but daddy, you're retired. Son, I want you to understand I love your mother. I just can't be around here all day.
Hey, you got to be honest in relationships,
And I started laughing. I didn't understand. I was a lot younger than I am now. And, good thing mom and dad are in heaven hanging out waiting for me.
Heck yeah.
God, good news, they can wait. But that stays in my mind when you made that statement, because first of all, I don't know how people can turn the engines off. Me, I'm looking at expanding my firm, but other people are enjoying their retirement. God bless everyone. The question is, when you retire, the hard challenge is, should you keep working? Well, find something. If you love your job, then frankly, you're not working. That's me. I don't have to work. We're blessed enough. I love our clients. I love people. I will continue to work until God calls me home, as far as it looks right now. Luckily, he hasn't called me. The second thing is, other people maybe want to try a different vocation. Maybe they go from being a nurse, a doctor. Maybe they're a toll collector. Maybe they're a sanitation engineer. Well, that's okay, but they want to do something else and they want to find something. So maybe they want to work. So I can't answer that question for anybody here, but dadgummit, my best friend in Jacksonville, Florida, Dale, always makes fun of me because I want to work 100 miles an hour. That guy could sit in his yard, sit around the campfire and have a couple adult beverages and enjoy life. Good old Southern boy. We grew up since age 6. And he always makes fun of me and teasingly because I'm 100 miles an hour. Difference of personalities. Dale likes to rake his yard. I like talking to clients. I can afford someone to rake my yard, but I love talking. So what is your vocation? Don't just leave to leave. There's got to be a compelling reason. Maybe you want to travel with your beautiful spouse or husband, wife, and maybe you want to take a trip. Maybe you want to take care of dogs and or cats, and maybe you want to get in that. Maybe you want to go out and maybe start a lawn service part-time because you love taking care. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you, you better have some type of game plan, because you could be watching Price is Right and that crap gets older. I can tell you for sure. So let's say you're 65 years old. You want to go from company A and you have a 401k, and you want to go to company B and it has a 403b. Well, and you love your work. One mistake I found is you roll the money over to an IRA. Now, why would that be a mistake? Well, maybe you plan on working a long time. Maybe you should roll it over to the new company if they accept it, so you don't have to take the required minimum distributions at 72. Now, frankly, if you don't think you're going to be working until 72, then you roll it over to an IRA, and you've got a lot of universal products that you could buy or get involved in to protect your money. In these times right now, whether they're good times or bad times, you need to invest that money. So the question number one is, if you're going from job A to job B, should you roll over the money to a plan? Next thing is what choices they give you. This is really important. And in retirement, you know what? If you love what you do, find something else. Speak to your spouse or a significant other. If you're by yourself, maybe you want to go mountain climbing or water skiing like my sport, or just hang gliding like I did. I can tell you there's a lot of fun things, but you got to figure out what you're going to do, and what kind of fun is it going to be?
Maybe you need a first opinion. Maybe you need a second opinion about whether you should keep working, how much in retirement. Either way, Scott can be reached at 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646 at .com for the website. So earlier, we'll just call it 80% of workers between 57 and 75 said they'd rather be semi-retired rather than fully retired. So Scott, is this just the end of retirement as we know it?
No. And I think the biggest thing is, and what we spoke about, Alex, is, I forgot to bring up the health coverage. The insurance is before you leave work. You may just want to stay there and get the health coverage because maybe you're 63 years old.
Sure. And
Medicare is not kicking in until 65. And the health insurance could be as expensive as ever. So I forgot to bring that up as a downside of retiring. Maybe you get a part-time job that offers health benefits. This could be beneficial. And what if you have a wonderful spouse who has no health coverage? Or like my conversation, we were putting a trust together for a client, and they have a special needs son. He's on the insurance. Well, that's a whole nother world on the area of part-time or full-time, whatever. Now, other areas of part-time work, Alex, I'm not sure, but you think about taking Social Security too early. Should you take it or not too early? should you keep working? And so I don't want to leave that out. I think I might have left it out a little bit before. I just hate to. There's so many choices that could drive your money in the ground. And especially if the stock market is dropping, it could really cannibalize your assets and make you have to work.
Well, and Scott, people generally are healthier, generally living longer, and therefore could possibly have a longer retirement. Where in the past, 10, 20 years, maybe it's 20, 30 years. And so you have to account for that, Scott. And that's just a longer amount of time, obviously, to have a steady paycheck or something there to fill that gap. And so that's what makes this so interesting. You don't want to just retire, have nothing to do for a lot of reasons. Financial is definitely one of them, but also, like you hinted to earlier, a lot of it's just mental as well, and your physical health, and giving yourself some purpose and keeping that brain sharp.
That's so important. The purpose. Maybe the purpose is those of you right now that are in or near retirement. Maybe you're in retirement. You need to find a new hobby. You need to try a new sport or maybe a new venture. Maybe you need to try go out, you and your significant other or spouse, or meet new friends, be around people. Don't just cavitate yourself, lock yourself into your room. Just get out and enjoy what we've been so blessed with, this beautiful country. I mean, we could talk about the Democrats and Republicans and get all stuck in the muck and not enjoy life. This is disastrously depression. Leave the politics aside and just be a friend. Just love on people. We're allowed to have our own opinions. And when people aren't allowed to have their own opinions, get away from those people. If they don't respect you, then you don't need to be around each other. We all need respect. And especially times like this, coming out of the COVID area, coming out of the, being isolated. Oh my gosh, it is so many devastating things that are come down the line because of this. Get out and meet people, understand what you're doing. But again, as you said, be very careful with your money, because we're living a lot longer. And by taking out too much money in the go-go years, are you going to have enough money in the slow-go years? Are you going to run out of money? And we talked about that in several of our shows, Alex, called reverse dollar cost averaging, where you have to pull a lot more money out. You have to sell a lot more shares just to get the same income. So positioning your money to last a longer time so you have a income that will last the rest of your life. That's why people call us at our studios. Scott, how can I have that income that will last the rest of my life so I can put my head on my pillow and say, I can sleep well at night? 609-488-4646. I'll be able to talk to you if you'd like and maybe help you with some of those areas of concern. I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646 before you make the arduous decision. Where do you invest? Should you retire, not retire? And what are your options? There's a lot to discuss, Alex. Guys, I was thinking about this gentleman who went back to work to celebrate his 100th birthday. This one guy in Jersey, however, decided to do exactly the opposite. His name is Bill Hansen, and he celebrated his 100th birthday by returning back to his work, which he diligently for 32 years loved. And so Fred Hutchinson, the CEO of Hutchinson Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, well, he signed an agreement to go back to the work for one day. And he welcomed with a big birthday cake and a full day of assignments. He loved it. And he took off about 15 minutes after we signed the agreement. He said the agreement, he got to work, and the Hutchinson said he had to spend a lot of time where he could be at the company before he retired at age 97. And he didn't have much to say for retirement life. He said, quote, I hate being retired. I never had a job where I didn't want to go to work in the morning. Hansen said, and he attributes much of his happiness in life to his love of his work, his wife, and his family. You see, for retirement, it could be forever. But what is your forever? Is it working? Is it enjoying life? It's about what you have in the quality of your life. Quality of your life, psychologically, we spoke about, emotionally, and financially. Can you do it? Make that decision. I'd love to talk to you. 609-488-4646. This is important.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.